On Sunday, November 7, Tarom, Romania's flag carrier and oldest operating airline, operated their final revenue service of a Boeing 737-300. Since first introducing the type in late 1993, Tarom operated 8 aircraft of the type. One, registered Yankee Romeo Bravo Golf Charlie, was written off in December 2007 after colliding with an airport maintenance truck during a takeoff run departing Bucharest. There were no recorded fatalities or injuries, however the aircraft was damaged beyond repair. 3 others have left Tarom for other operators, with 4 remaining in the fleet. Now all have been parked. The airline owns these aircraft outright, making them relatively cheap workhorses despite their average age of 27.5 years. Now, Tarom plans to sell them as part of its fleet development plans and replace them with 5 Boeing 737 MAX 8 aircraft which were ordered in 2018. Continuing the trend of A380 aircraft preparing to return to service, this week saw a mammoth flight for a mammoth aircraft. At the onset of the coronavirus pandemic, Qantas flew all of its 12 Airbus A380 aircraft to the United States for long-term storage. Most went to Southern California Logistics in Victorville, with 2 parked at Los Angeles. Prior to the onset of the pandemic, Qantas A380 fleet was undergoing refurbishment in Dresden. About half had received the new cabin update before the airline made the decision to store all its A380s until 2024. In August of 2021, Qantas' second A380 delivered and the 15th manufactured flew from Los Angeles to Dresden for scheduled maintenance for new landing gear. On Monday morning local time, the aircraft departed from Dresden bound for Sydney on a mammoth 19-hour flight. After 593 days absent from Australian skies, the A380 approached Sydney from the southwest, flew a loop around Sydney Harbour, then arrived into Sydney's runway 07 at about 3:10 p.m. on Tuesday local time to a very warm welcome. The aircraft was towed to a hangar and greeted by a crowd of Qantas employees and invited guests. The aircraft will be used to train pilots and crew in preparation for the type's scheduled return to flying on March 22, 2022. On Monday, November 8, an Air Canada Airbus A220-300 was operating Flight 720 from Toronto to New York LaGuardia. While on approach to runway 31 at 2,000 feet, the aircraft unexpectedly yawed to the right, and the crew received an indication stating 1 engine. The right engine had rolled back to 30% N1 and did not respond to any throttle movement. The crew elected to abandon the approach while they worked through the associated procedures and checklists, including shutting down the affected engine. The crew declared an emergency and diverted to Newark, where the aircraft landed safely on runway 4 right about 35 minutes after the onset of the engine issues. On Tuesday, November 9, a United Airlines Boeing 767-300 was operating Flight 957 from Geneva to Newark. The aircraft was en route, cruising at flight level 320, about 30 nautical miles south of Shannon in Ireland. The crew contacted air traffic control and requested a diversion to Dublin in consultation with United dispatchers due to a caution message related to the fuel system. After manually computing their current fuel and desired landing fuel, the crew entered a hold at flight level 80. Since the aircraft was about to enter an ETOPS segment over the Atlantic, it's possible that the crew encountered an issue with the fuel crossfeed valve failing to open, a requirement for ETOPS. About 2.5 hours after the request for a diversion, the aircraft landed in Dublin. 2 hours after that, the aircraft continued its journey to Newark, arriving with a delay of about 4.5 hours. On Thursday, November 11, an Azur Air Boeing 767 was operating Flight 514 from Sharm el-Sheikh, Egypt to Moscow's Vnukovo Airport. After a 4.5 hour flight, the aircraft was on approach to runway 24 when the crew initiated a go-around, climbing to 4,000 feet. The reported reason for the go-around was a trailing edge flap disagree message. As per the QRH, the crew enabled the ground proximity flap override switch to prevent nuisance
too low flaps
oral alerts on approach, then proceeded with a flaps 20 non-normal landing. On Saturday night, the aircraft returned to service. After last week flying from Doha International to the neighbouring Hamad International, this Friday, November 12, the Qatari Airbus A380 was flying again, back to Doha. From here, as with the British Airways A380 last week, the aircraft took to the skies over the Persian Gulf on multiple out-and-back training flights, with call signs 9930 through 9937. As with the exercises at Shannon last week, it makes financial and logistical sense to operate training flights from less busy, or as in this case, closed to scheduled traffic, aerodromes, rather than busy hubs. At the end of the training flights, the aircraft returned to Hamad International.